Okay, let's unpack this. We're diving deep into a really fascinating perspective today. It comes from a source titled The Single Thing Others Care About You.
Right.
And our mission here really is to just distill the core insight from this. We're looking at what truly matters in human connections,
Hmm.
especially, with people who don't really have an agenda, like your friends or just people you know casually.
Yeah, the non-transactional stuff. And right away, this source hits you with something that might feel a bit off, maybe.
A little counterintuitive, yeah. It argues pretty strongly that a lot of things we think are important to others, they just aren't the focus, not in these kinds of relationships.
Exactly. It suggests things like how smart you are or your big achievements, even how good looking you might be. In relationships where there's no vested interest, the source says that's not what people are fundamentally tuning into.
And what's interesting is the clear line it draws.
Yeah.
It's not saying intelligence or competence never matter. Obviously, they do sometimes.
Sure, context is key. A boss needs you to be competent, right? A business partner cares about your track record for a deal. But this source is specifically filtering out those goal-oriented interactions. It's looking purely at connection for connection's sake.
Right. So if you take away those external goals, what's
Yeah.
left? This source makes a really bold claim about that, about what people actually focus on when they're just, well, with you.
It really drills down. It boils it all down to one single thing. The only thing people actually care about is, well, it's simple. How do you make them feel when they're with you? That's it.
How you make them feel. Wow.
Yeah.
So not your CV, not your fancy car, not your job title.
Nope. None of that. Just the subjective, emotional climate you create around them. The source seems to think that without an agenda, human interaction just defaults to prioritizing that purely experiential part. How does it feel to be around this person?
And it doesn't stop there, does it? It goes further.
It does. It suggests this idea, this feeling you create, isn't just for friends. It presents it as the core of all human relationships. Full stop.
Really, all of them.
That's the claim.
Yeah.
Obviously, in transactional ones, other things matter too. Performance, reliability, etc. But it argues that even there, that underlying ability to make someone feel a certain way, that connection, it's still fundamental.
So if we sort of zoom out, it's proposing that the real currency of human connection, especially the genuine kind, it isn't based on our scores or successes. It's about the emotional vibe we put out.
The resonance.
Yeah.
It's purely about the experience of being with you.
Makes you think, doesn't it? I mean, consider the people you naturally want to spend time with. Is it mainly because of their list of accomplishments? Or is it more about that feeling you get, ease, comfort, maybe excitement, or just joy?
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. And it raises this really important question, which the source definitely wants us to think about. If people without those vested interests aren't primarily focused on how smart or great you are, then what does that tell us about where the sort of inherent value lies, just in sharing time with someone?
It wants right back to that feeling, that experience.
Exactly. The source presents this whole idea that the feeling you generate is the absolute core, not just as a nice thought. It frames it as a fundamental truth it's uncovered about relationships.
So, okay, for you listening right now, what does this actually mean? If this source is right, and the feeling you create is the single most important thing to others, at least in relationships where they don't need something specific from you, well, what does that imply? Where should you maybe shift your focus when you're thinking about, building your connections, maintaining them?
If that feeling is the core.
Yeah. Then maybe focusing on creating that positive feeling, that connection. Maybe that's the most impactful thing you can actually do.
Definitely something to mull over.